Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, man, welcome back to Stoner Talk Podcast episode something, right? So this one is gonna be a little bit different. So I gotta make some important announcements at the beginning, like I always do, kind of, right? So the last episode I did, or the one before the last one that I did with Brian, it was Brian and myself doing a review of a new song that I made, and then we started playing a bunch of music. So it was really like an hour long like episode of just playing music, and then it turns out I got like fucking 30, 40 copyright. No, I'm just kidding. I got like 20 copyrights, dude. 25 copyrights. So then I try to appeal them all or dispute all of them like I normally do. And then it turns out all of them got rejected. So all my disputes got rejected. So I had to appeal. And then my appeals, I got a couple of them that were denied. So basically, the last episode that I did was going to get taken down. And then I was going to get a strike on my channel. And the only way to prevent it would be to delete the video that I did, and then the views that I got and all the likes and everything would still like count towards my my I guess stats, I guess, for my channel. So I said fuck it. I just deleted the video. I didn't want to strike on my channel. So it was fucking Sebastian. Sebastian, if you're watching this, you're a fucking bitch. I'll fuck you up, dude. You're a fucking bitch. But yeah, I mean, pretty much that's all I had to say. So then after that, I was a little bit discouraged, right? So I haven't really been uploading anything. I haven't really been recording any episodes because I was pretty fucking heartbroken after that, right? Because I'm like, damn, dude, something that I really love is music, right? I like to make music. Obviously, I'm an artist, right? My name's Namescape. I make music on all streaming platforms. Um, so I like to make music, and then to, like fucking I like to record videos, right? Especially when it's like Brian, me and Brian, shit's pretty fun. I always have fun recording the episodes that I do. And then, like there's two things that I like doing. So recording videos, making music, playing music, right? Listening to music. So it's like it sucks that I can't do both of those things at the same time, like record videos and then play music, because it's like my shit's gonna get taken down or shit's gonna get copyrighted, right? So I'm just like, fuck, that sucks. I was pretty discouraged, to be honest, for a while. And then after that, I ended up fucking hurting myself again at the gym, right? Well, technically I wasn't at the gym, but I've been doing a lot of like single arm workouts, and then I was doing like overhead press, or what's it called, skull crusher, tricep extension. I don't know what the fuck it was called. I was basically like this. I had my arm all the way over my head, and I was doing pretty heavy. I was going like 30 pounds, I think. And I think that over time doing that, kind of put a lot of strain on my shoulder. And then the other night, or like I would say like 5 nights ago, I was doing pull-ups, and then I felt like my form was wrong or something was wrong, and I felt like it just put more strain on my shoulder. And then after that, I stopped. I was chilling, like I was in the mirror. I took off my shirt, looking at myself. I remember like I flexed my muscles, and all of a sudden I just felt like a bulge come out of my armpit, dude. So I'm pretty sure I gave myself like a hernia. I don't know how to explain it, but I gave myself like a hernia in my armpit. So like for like 5 days, I didn't work out at all. I was recovering, but even now, like I can work out. I don't really like it. Doesn't really hurt too much, but I feel like pressure. I feel like my muscle in my back and my I feel like the muscle in my back and in my chest kind of like someone just grabbed it and is like fucking twisting it, dude. And I have like a little ball that came out of my armpit. So I'm just like, fuck. I'm pretty scared about that. If it gets worse, obviously I'm gonna have to go see a doctor, because hernias don't heal on their own, right? They require surgery. So I'm pretty scared about that. Hopefully it's nothing serious. So today, well, right now technically it's like 1:30 in the morning, 1:30 a.m. that I'm recording this. I just got out of the gym, actually. So I went to the gym like around 11. I got out like around 12 something. Dude, I was fucking like one of the most intense workouts I've done in a while, especially since I haven't been working out like the past few days. So I was literally just doing curls, dude, doing chest, doing fucking tricep extensions, dude, and it was pretty good. So I think from now on, working out, like no more free weight bullshit, dude. I'm gonna do all machines, because I feel like I always do free weights. I either go too heavy or my form is wrong, and then I fucking hurt myself, dude. Because last time it was what, my form was wrong, and I feel like I felt like I hurt my lower, like my lower like abs, I guess, lower stomach, like near my groin. I feel like I hurt my groin area. and it fucking hurt. And then after that, right, I fucking worked out wrong. I hurt my trap, my left trap, so I couldn't move my fucking shoulder for like a good like 2 weeks, right? Then after that, it was my ankle. I fucked up my ankle, and then my right ankle, so I couldn't really squat. I couldn't really do shit. And then after that, it was my fucking trap again. I slept wrong, so I couldn't move it. And then now it's like my fucking hernia thing, right? My armpit. So I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like, it's like every month, dude. It's like, what's my fucking injury, dude? Like, at this point, I gotta keep a calendar of all the times that I get hurt, dude. It's basically like, it's fucking bullshit. But I'm like, fuck. I love to work out, but I keep fucking getting hurt, dude. So from now on, I'm going light weights and I'm using machines only. I'm doing everything assisted. I'm not gonna do any free weights, no barbells, no dumbbells. Fuck that bullshit. So I'm gonna try to get big as I can using only like free weights, and then what's that shit called? Focusing on like muscle or the hypertrophy bullshit, right? Where it's like when you go down slowly as you fucking can, and then you come back up, and then you go slowly, like slowly down as you can, you know. You go down as slowly as you can, shit like that, right? Or you're fucking pushing, and they're saying like the what matters is the going down, and then you push up, and then you go down. So I'm gonna be doing some of that bullshit at the gym. So if you see me using fucking 10 pounds, you know why, dude. No, I'm not gay. I'm not a bitch. I just keep fucking hurting myself, dude. And it's not even worth it to me at this point. And then the third thing, right, that I wanted to talk about is that well, I've been, not recently, but normally I get comments on my shit when I record an episode by myself. Some people usually say like, oh, dude, you know, your shit's boring. Like, you should give up. Like, you should stop making videos. No one watches that shit. And I'm like, damn, dude. Like, a lot of people tell me that my videos are boring when I'm by myself. And to be honest, that kind of like motivates me, right? Like, I feel like I have like a super weird like fucking brain where I get easily addicted to things. So like working. I mean, I've been trying to get addicted to like positive things, right? Like recording videos, recording podcasts, working out, fucking making music, right? Fucking drawing, shit like that. So I try to get addicted to good things, but also like drinking, smoking, right? I'm a huge fan of those things too. So I feel like for me, I'm the type of person that if you tell me like, hey bro, your shit fucking sucks, dude, like you should just give up. That makes you want to just keep trying harder. Like makes you want to keep doing it, you know? And it's weird only because with some things, right? Like like if I'm talking to a girl and she's like, dude, you're a fucking bitch, like don't ever fucking talk to me again, right? That would like super like discourage me, and I probably would like never talk to that girl again. But if it's like I'm making music or videos and someone says like, hey dog, your shit sucks, like you should fucking give up. Makes you want to just keep going and trying to like prove them wrong, you know? So that's why I've been trying to do a little bit more solo episodes. And then also too, like me and Brian's schedules don't really like line up too much because he obviously works in the morning, I work at night. So I don't want to, and I also don't want to keep relying on Brian for content. You know, I feel kind of bad. Like I don't want to be like, oh shit, I want to record. Hey Brian, you know, like. So I'm obviously I know he doesn't mind. I don't think he minds at all. Like recording shit. I don't think it's a big deal for him. But it's just like for me, I want to be able to like do my own thing. You know. I don't want to have to keep relying. I always say that every video. So whatever. So give me 1 second. 10 minutes in, I haven't even fucking smoked yet. Fuck you. Right. Hey, hold on. I like holding it like this. And I tell them all about you. Alright, so today I kind of want to do something different. Because like I'm saying, people call me boring and they say I'm boring. I feel like maybe I don't have the most interesting personality. Maybe I'm not like the most like out there, you know, like trying to go for laughs, trying to be funny, like extra, right? Oh, that was perfect. I thought I was gonna miss. Okay, you know how like some I feel like some content creators are like oh my god, hey guys, today we're, like that bullshit. And then for me, I'm just like, dude, I'm fucking like chilling, bro. Like that's how I normally am. I feel like my default setting is quiet, and the only time that I'm really like talking is when I'm at like work or some shit or school. Like if I'm somewhere that I have to be, and I'm around people, I'm like, fuck, dude, like. Then I gotta be social, right? I gotta be a social butterfly. I gotta be talkative and shit like that. But if I'm like at home chilling, or I'm like outside, I'm at the gym or whatever the fuck, like, like, dude, I'm not really gonna talk much. And I feel like like if I drink or smoke too, I feel like I get really quiet. So I feel like I'm not the most interesting person with the most like interesting personality, but I feel like the things that I do are interesting, right? Like making music, drawing, my art, working out, shit like that, my videos. And I've been wanting to capture my art process for a while. So like all day today I was trying to make a song, and I'm literally like halfway. But to make a song and then record it, get it on video and then upload it would be a little bit too hard for me. But then I also had the urge to draw some cover art, not for my music, my new album, but for like the YouTube channel. So I'm like, what if I just draw some art, and then as I record myself, I'll draw art for the podcast as I record the podcast while I listen to a lecture of someone else, right? So there's a guy named Jim Vera. He was like, he was on the History Channel, the Finding Giants bullshit, right? Remember Monster Quest? Remember Ancient Aliens, all that gay shit? So he's like one of those guys. He had a show on the History Channel. But then I've been listening to him a lot, and I'm like, bro, I fucking fell down the rabbit hole, dude. Like the fucking psilocybin, DMT elves, right? Fucking shit like that, dude. Where I'm like, damn, I've never tried DMT, psilocybin, mushrooms, anything like that. I've never tried it. Maybe one day, but I really I'm like, yo, that shit's pretty crazy. I don't know. I feel like that shit changes you. So maybe one day, but I don't know. Who knows? So I never tried it, but then this guy's talking about it. And then when I hear like Joe Rogan talking about like DMT and all that shit, kind of like, what the fuck? But then when you hear like academics and like scholars and shit like that, people who like have like, well, some of them have degrees and shit like that, talking about like the shit they like, same thing as fucking Joe Rogan. You're like, oh, what the fuck? That's so weird. So this guy Jim Vera, he talks a lot about something that I find very interesting, the Nephilim, right? A giant race that was like talked about in the Bible and was like expanded upon in the Torah, which is like the Jewish Bible, which is like a race of beings that were born from the angels who came down from heaven to watch humans and human women, right? So they gave birth to the Nephilim, which are like giant beings. And then those Nephilims were like, so many of them, they had tribes, and then they had their kids and shit like that. And all throughout history, there's like evidence of like giant people, 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall, like double sets of teeth, like perfect, that was weird. Perfect like proportions, right? So it's not like they're deformed or they have any sort of like deformity, but basically like there's like evidence all throughout history of like people being like, I guess, born gigantism, or like natural giants, I guess. So it's pretty crazy. And then this guy also talks about like psilocybin and fucking mushrooms and shit like that, and ayahuasca. So that's like a big thing, like among all these guys, like the ayahuasca shit that they do. Like I'm saying, I never tried it. I don't know if I would try it, but watching like the shit they talk about is fucking interesting as fuck, dude. So this guy Jim Vera, he's talking about like all ancient pagan religions have like certain aspects that are very similar, and it's like some of these religions are like never met each other. So like ancient Greece, right? Ancient Egypt, ancient China, ancient Rome, dude, ancient like South America, ancient America, like the Native American tribes, like ancient, like basically all around the world, everywhere there's civilization, there was paganism, and then everywhere there was paganism, there was rituals, and then there were certain gods, and then there was like, and it kind of makes sense, like, right, with like, if like every human, right, you wake up, you see the sun, and then at night you see the moon, and then you see the sun, or I'm sorry, you see like the sky and the stars, you see like the trees and shit. You're gonna say, okay, there's a nature god, okay, there's a sun god, there's a moon god, there's a god of night, there's a god of day, right? There's a god of fucking of the ocean, right? So that kind of makes sense. But then like every one of these religions have like shit that's like very similar, right? So that's kind of what he talks about. He's talking about every religion has like a fish god, right? That's like a half man, half fish, like a snake god, right? Which is like a god with like which is either half man, half snake, or like has like 7 snakes coming out of his head or some shit. So it's interesting. So as I listen to this shit, because this is like what I've been watching for like the past few days, I probably watched like 10 hours of lectures of this fool's fucking videos, and I've been watching like Hugh Newman's videos, Graham Han- Graham Hancock, I think that's his name, whatever the fuck his name is, dude. I'm like deep in the fucking rabbit hole. So I'm gonna listen to this video, and I'm gonna draw cover art for the podcast while I record this podcast, while I smoke, while I guess that's it actually. So I'm gonna multitask. I'm gonna like super fucking heavy multitask, and let's see how this goes, bro. So, oh, all right, one more hit, and then I'm gonna start drawing. So I already have my reference picture. It's a fucking picture of me, right? So who's this fucking handsome devil? So a picture of me. I can't really see it that well from the podcast, right? There you go, kind of. So I'm gonna draw that. I'm literally just gonna copy it in a cartoony kind of way. Not cartoony, but make it a little bit different. And then that's actually like a screenshot that I got from the podcast. That was the episode that I recorded with Brian, and I forgot. I didn't remember like what the fuck. I didn't remember what it was about, dude. That's so funny. But I was like, yo, that day, like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like my hair. I don't know if it was like my freaking outfit. I don't know if it was the beard, growing in. But like, dude, I look really, really good that day, bro. I don't know if you guys ever have like, I don't know if you guys ever have times like that where you just look at yourself like, damn, I just look fucking good right now, dude. And I try not to be too vain about it, but this day right here, dude, like, I looked fucking good, bro. I'm pretty sure everybody noticed. So that's why I kind of chose that one. Okay, so I don't mean to be cocky. I don't mean to be like arrogant or fucking whatever the fuck. But like, damn, like damn, dude. I would put this picture as my screensaver, dude. Like, dude. I'm like, damn. Why? Sometimes I like wonder, like, why aren't there like, there should just be lines and lines of women just begging and pleading to date me, because I'm so handsome. Crazy, bro. I don't understand it. The world we live in, huh? All right, so I'm gonna get started with the video.
If you're interested in this idea, I'd say check it out and make up your mind for yourself. I talk about Edgar Casey a lot in my talks, and I'm not dogmatic about it. Casey made mistakes, especially in his predictions about the future, but I believe that these strange and controversial ideas are generally true about the past when you get into giants and Atlantis and other
and this guy talks about Atlantis too, right?
I speak of and these mystics speak of. Nobody has a time machine, so we don't know all the details, but I think we really can get a glimpse of the past by bypassing the human ego and looking towards the more esoteric sources. I have friends who are channels and clairvoyants, and I do readings with them, and I listen to them. And I listen, I have friends who are skeptics, and Christians and Mormons. I'm just like, what do you have to say about all these things? But the individual, ego-driven, agenda-driven human, I like to look past and try to get a more esoteric view of our past to hopefully get a clearer picture through comparative analysis. So that being said, I'm going to get a little into what Casey had to say about my favorite place, Atlantis. So these new finds of hobbits in Indonesia in 2003, Denisovans in the Altai region of Siberia in 2010, the out of Africa theory essentially being in turmoil, Clovis barrier biting the dust. That's the idea that humans came from the land barrier no later than 13,000 years ago, or no earlier than that. The Younger Dryas Impact event, which is a cataclysmic event that is being verified further and further by science.
So like all this stuff that he kind of talks about is like, if you watch Joe Rogan's podcast, literally like shit that you fucking hear on his podcast and shit like that. And it's so weird. Like, obviously like this guy worked with the guy who fucking or he knows a guy or worked with him, whatever the fuck, who was on the show, right? And then, but it's like just so weird, like all these theories that are coming about and shit like that, and there's so much evidence to like back them up. That's what for me. It's just like I'm just like, what the fuck? And then there's also another one that was pretty interesting. It was Graham Hancock, whatever the fuck. One of his videos, he was talking about like like the Egyptian gods, and then ayahuasca, shit like that. And then there's shit that you see when you're in ayahuasca, some like goddess, it's like a nature goddess who's like presented as like a snake or a jaguar or an eagle or some shit. And then he's basically talking about like, oh, every religion is like every religion is like they all talk about like how God is evil, right? Our God, the Christian God, is evil, and then Jesus Christ, are like, we're wrong about what he is and shit like that. But to me, it's like yeah, okay, whatever the fuck. But it's interesting that every like religion has like a talks about like a Christ figure, messianic figure, and shit like that, right? Where it's like, damn, like what if like we really are like the true religion, right? The like there actually is like Jesus Christ and shit like that, and then we're like the ones that are like following the religion. So it's like, I don't know. I think that's kind of a trip where I'm like, damn, it feels like, I don't know. We're on the right track or some shit, you know?
12,800 years ago.
Fucking ads, bro. Fucking
And then
ads.
Göbekli Tepe discovered it in Turkey, 11,600-year-old megalithic temple site that doubles the age of civilization. So this has all happened recently, and these finds are supporting the ideas that many researchers like Andrew Collins and Graham Hancock and Robert Schoch have talked about for years. Excuse me. So what our friend Casey in a trance-like state said about Atlantis was that it was founded in 210,000 BC. So his readings describe three separate disasters that befell Atlantis. Now, Casey, it talks about a supernatural founding of Homo sapiens. Like, we are spirit beings who got trapped in matter, and there might be some extraterrestrial influence woven in there. We can't ask him again because he's passed away, but it seems like there is a supernatural creation of Homo sapiens that occurred in the past. So Plato is famous for talking about Atlantis and the Timaeus and the Critias. He also said this, that Egypt has recorded and kept eternally the wisdom of the old times, all coming from time immemorial when gods governed the earth in the dawn of civilization. Now, a lot of these scholars and chroniclers talk about this lost world of Atlantis being, the place that of the Hesperides and Hyperborea, where people lived twice as long, and it was a wonderful place where the gods, lived. And in Greek mythology, that's the place of the Titans and Atlas and Poseidon. So they're basically talking about this continent in the middle of the Atlantic that existed deep into antiquity. Now, Plato is talking here about his visits to the Library of Alexandria and how Casey says that the Atlantean survivors showed up and were the founders of the Egyptian civilization. And it is a quite sophisticated and strange and metaphysically based culture. If you really delve into the Book of the Dead and the oral traditions and esoteric teachings in Egypt, you will find that out as well. So there is literary evidence of Greek individuals visiting Egypt, especially to acquire knowledge, Herodotus and Plato. Both these gentlemen visited the Library of Alexandria, and if the library were standing today, we wouldn't have this conversation because the records would exist of Atlantis. But
And then I don't know if this video is copyrighted, so I'm gonna have to like keep pausing and shit. But just shit like that, where like Atlantis, like Atlantis is like such a famous, like well-known shit like that, like city or whatever the fuck. I think it's been documented for like thousands and thousands of years. Like how many think about like how many kid shows or whatever the fuck, like how many like kid shows, TV shows, movies and shit like that have like featured Atlantis, right? Like off the top of my head, I think like fucking SpongeBob, shit like that. That's it. That's it. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them out there who like talk about Atlantis or they visit Atlantis, shit like that, right? Wasn't there like a Disney movie? What was it called? Fuck, what was that Disney movie? I don't remember. It was like an animated one, right? Shit like that, like just like you think about like when you think about Atlantis, you think about like some cartoon, like fucking fish people, like Aquaman's there and shit like that. And it's like, damn, fucking, they're talking about that shit like thousands and thousands of years ago. Like, what the fuck? What a trip.
one of the skeptics' arguments is Plato is the only one who talked about Atlantis as a historical fact, which isn't true. Herodotus lived before Plato and spoke of Atlantis, and other chroniclers did too, including Homer, who talked about Aegygia. So the Library of Alexandria existed in the distant past and was destroyed in a series of fires, which is a bummer. So here is Herodotus, the father of history. Near this salt hill in a mountain named Atlas, after this mountain, these received their names, for they are called Atlanteans. Remember, he was born before Plato. He also refers to the sea beyond the Pillars of Heracles as the Sea of Atlantis. There's a picture of one of the representations of what Atlantis was supposed to look like. You know, one of the skeptics' arguments is there is no way that Atlantis could have existed, or Lemuria in the Pacific. You know, it is not allowed for with current geological theory, plate tectonics. You know, cannot describe these events. But I tend to think that a lot of the pillars of our science are really built on a house of sand, that plate tectonics is a flawed theory. And there's a lot of criticism of these theories. And there's just a prevailing paradigm or like a scientific cult around these ideas where they are considered an incontrovertible truth, the same way as like the science that makes your cell phone work, which just clearly isn't true. It's just an educated guess. So at first it seems like this grand theory, like just like out of Africa. Oh, it makes perfect sense, you know, Clovis barrier, you know, everything fits together. And then these cracks appear, and then these kind of absurd bridge theories are created to hold the whole shitty paradigm up. And some of the bridge theories are absolutely absurd, but there are agenda-invested intellectuals who are like, I've been teaching this for 40 years, or, you know, they view the alternative side as like an enemy in politics and religion. So instead of meeting in the middle and blending science and spirituality like the ancients did, we have these clear divisions of kind of the alternative side and the scientific side. And I say, you know, you meet in the middle. Like I try to work with really cool professionals, archaeologists on digs, and, you know, people who are just open to these ideas, or at the very least.
I mean, that's kind of true, right? Like, especially like you're talking about like politics nowadays, right? Like, fuck, dude, there's no such thing as fucking meeting in the middle, right? Talk about a lot about like how our culture is very like fractured, right? Like I feel like everything, no matter what it is, like you're talking about like fucking TV shows, movies, fucking DC, Marvel. There's always like one side or the other, right? Pretty weird. That's what I don't know. I feel like especially nowadays, everything's just so divided. Like after COVID, especially, bro, it's kind of like that's where the whole kind of the main shit started, right?
They're not going to, be disrespectful of how you think. So anyways, David Pratt wrote this really interesting article where he talks about, you know, basically his doubts about plate tectonics. This paper looks at the challenges confronting plate tectonics, the ruling paradigm in the earth sciences. The classical model of thin lithospheric plates moving over global asthenosphere is shown to be impossible. Evidence is presented that appears to contradict continental drift, seafloor spreading, and subduction, and the claim that the ocean crust is relatively young. The problems posed by vertical tectonic movements are reviewed, including evidence for large areas of submerged continental crust in today's oceans. It is concluded that the fundamental tenets of plate tectonics must be wrong, or might be wrong. The way this problem is solved is to take core samples in the middle Atlantic range near the Azores, where Atlantis was supposed to exist, or off the coast of California, where it's clear that like rivers that form these rivulets and other things are submerged deep under the ocean, and see exactly when these areas were submerged. So I'm not against science. I am just open to new ideas about the past, and I believe with the right funding, this might happen. So we had the cataclysm we spoke of, and basically science is now verifying that this great flood that was talked about, this ancient cataclysm that ended Atlantis, is actually a scientific fact. We have these creator gods who show up all around the world after the flood as well, creating, you know, humans out of clay, just like in Genesis. And here we have Canaan, the androgynous god who created humans, and he has six
Oh, yeah, that's something that that's something that this guy also Jim Vera talks about like a lot in his videos. He talks about like fucking polydac polydactylism, whatever is like six fingers, six toes, and androgynous beings, androgynous gods. So like neither male nor female, or both male and female with like a penis and a vagina. And then they talk about like how every religion has like a story about how like humans were once like androgynous beings, right, both male and female, but then they were separated because they were too strong, and then now humans spend like all their lives looking for their other half, bullshit like that. So he kind of talks like touches on that shit a lot. So I'm gonna keep going.
Fingers. There are androgynous creator gods found all around the planet. Now, I've got into this in more detail in other lectures in the series, but I just want to hit on some of these ideas of who these creator gods were. Casey says, in the early days of Milius's rule, the separation of the sexes had not yet begun to take place. Though male in their outward aspect, the androgynous sons of God embodied within themselves the nature of both male and female in one person. By turning to the creative forces, they could become channels to bring into being androgynous progeny after their own kind, imbued with a double soul and a double sex body. In this way, sexual intercourse was unnecessary means of propagation. That's a bummer. But that was the idea, promulgated by Zeus and others, that basically androgynous beings, were the first humans, if you will, these creator gods. The Babylonian expedition, where H.V. Hilprecht says the same thing. Now remember, Casey's saying this with an 8th grade education in a trance state, given like health ratings. He's talking about androgyny. And I even avoided this idea for years. I'm like, it's so weird. It's like, what the hell are people going to think? But anyways, this androgynous nature, this ability to beget out of himself his own ego, this self-existence is inherent in each and every god of the Sumerians. All Sumerian gods are androgynous. And this dude here, Oannes, the fish god who brought knowledge of civilization to the Sumerians, is known to be androgynous. It is not a male, it is like a sexless being, like an amphibious creature who shows up. And this fish god shows up all around the world. I will get into that. So Manly P. Hall is a great mystic and teacher of Freemasonry. Ronald Reagan was one of his students. This is what he has to say. The mythologies of many nations contain accounts of gods who came out of the sea. Certain shamans among the American Indians tell of holy men dressed in birds' feathers and wampum who arose out of the blue waters and instructed them in the arts and crafts. Among the legends of the Chaldeans is that of Oannes, a partly amphibious creature who came out of the sea and taught the savage peoples along the shore to read and write, till the soil, cultivate herbs for healing, study the stars, establish rational forms of government, and become conversant with the sacred mysteries. That's another thing. These gods taught the sacred mystery school teachings that, the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons both claim go back to Atlantis. That's where they say all the teachings came from. There's a lot of intrigue around secret society mysteries and stuff like that, but they've kept alive these sacred mysteries through all these dark ages, and they specifically state that they go all the way back to Atlantis. So these fish gods show up everywhere. Here is Dagon, the Philistine fish god. He has a beard, or it has a beard and breasts. It is portrayed as androgynous. Here's our friend Oannes with his nice man bag right there. The Nomo archetype is from the Dogon people. Now, this is a real key component to the story. Here are the Dogon. Ogamateli, the shaman, the blind shaman of the Dogon, was interviewed by French anthropologists in the 30s when the French invaded Mali, Africa, and colonized it. And what this Dogon shaman told them was that these androgynous fish beings showed up from the Sirius star system and taught, the arts of civilization and star knowledge to these people. And Robert Temple writes about the star knowledge in the Sirius Mystery. There's a lot been talked about how sophisticated the Dogon were, but this elder, well versed in the oral traditions of his people, basically and specifically states that these fish gods were androgynous and extraterrestrial. So you find them all around the world promulgating this knowledge. Here is a Nomo double-headed statue, male and female, portraying the androgynous nature of these gods. Here is Fuxinhua, the androgynous fish god of China. Here is from a temple tomb. So you see the androgynous fish god being portrayed. Now this being taught the I Ching, which is an utterly complex divination system, the arts of civilization and cultivation, math and geometry, once again, and we know how sophisticated China is, just like down in ancient Peru, where the androgynous Viracocha shows up, we find, the after effects of these beings, what builds up is these highly sophisticated civilizations. So Olokun, the fish god, androgynous in West Africa, is revered still to this day with festivals. These ancient peoples, whether it's a parade of giants in England or worshiping a fish god in Africa, these more indigenously connected people just remember, like through an ancestral lineage, these ideas, and they just keep going through time because there is some truth, there is a kernel of truth here. So Matsea.
Fucking ads, bro.
Vishnu,
So sorry, guys, I've been so
fish gods
quiet.
in India, they were androgynous.
But that's just shit that's fucking just like super interesting to me. Obviously, like I don't really believe all that shit. Like, do I believe in any of these gods? Like, obviously not. Like, obviously I'm Catholic, right? I believe in one God, right? The Father Almighty, right? Maker of heaven and earth, right? Of all things. I'm just kidding, bro. I'll just keep going. But yeah, so what's it called? Wait, sorry, guys. So yeah, like obviously I don't really believe into this shit, but just listening about it, like just shit that other cultures believe, like to me that's interesting. And also as I draw, I'm gonna try to make myself a little bit more handsome than I actually am, right? But like, you can't really blame me for that, right? You would do the same shit if you knew how to draw, right? But obviously you don't. You're not me. So I'm gonna keep going. I feel like this is coming out pretty good so far. So we'll see what happens. I might try to add like maybe a blunt in my mouth or something. Who knows? We'll see.
Sometimes presented as male and female, but usually represented as an androgynous being with breasts and beards, or two heads that are male and female, and they are specifically stated as androgynous. So Viracocha, this is the Bennett monolith. I believe it's of Viracocha. He was known to be androgynous. The historical record talks about it. And the Bennett monolith here in the museum, I think in Bolivia, it has fish scales all over it, representing this giant fish god, this wisdom keeper. So we know that Viracocha taught the arts of civilization. He emerged from Lake Titicaca, just like Oannes emerged from the Persian Gulf. And you will see that this fish god actually spent his nights sleeping in the Persian Gulf and teaching men by day and taking no food during the day. If I don't get into it here, I got into it in my other talks about these matters, but it is specifically stated. It's not like I conjured this up. I'm just piecing this story together. So Viracocha is a wisdom keeper who shows up who's androgynous. Now, Quetzalcoatl, sometimes it can be conflated, and this may be the same being, but this is the god of the Olmec and the Maya, Quetzalcoatl. He is born of Ometeotl, the androgynous god, and he is a demigod offspring of this androgynous creation. I don't know specifically if he was considered androgynous or if it was, but his dad was. He has a man bag as well, which is very strange because the fish god has that man bag in Samaria on the other side of the planet or the ocean. Zeus also talks about our first state was androgynous in Zeus. That's funny. Plato talks about our first state being androgynous, and Zeus, cut us down the middle and created male and female. some of the androgynous gods to be found all around the planet are there's an immense amount. It's an entirely ubiquitous phenomenon. Native American, like the Zuni elders, had shamans who were androgynous. There are androgynous gods in all these cultures. It's just, quite a thing. And I never, like I said, I stayed away from this idea, and now I realize the entire world is littered with androgynous gods and all this mythology around our androgyny being our first state. So I was down in Olmec land, the ancient predecessors of the Maya, who are, in their own right, a very sophisticated culture, and they have an androgynous god, this weird, like, space being, humano asexuado. So there's a lot of two-headed statues that represent androgyny, like the Ayin Ghazal bust from 8200 BC. In the Olmec lands, you have these androgynous two-headed statues as well. Once again, you have Quetzalcoatl with the man bag, who is androgynous. So Greek, Sumerian, Babylonian, Laotian, Native American, Maori, Yoruba, Christian, Chinese, Peruvian, and Muslim sources, among others, all claim humans were created out of the clay of the earth in supernatural fashion. So you have this theory all around the world. Here you have the six-fingered androgynous creator god, Khnum, who shows up after the flood, creating humans on a potter's wheel. Now, these could be these ancient stories beyond, 10,000 years ago, but the point is, these beings who are androgynous and oftentimes amphibious are known to have created humans, out of the dust in some form of, it's like the Sumerian creation epic. It's like blood mixed with clay or genetic material mixed with clay somehow created humans. That is the pervasive and specific story all around the world. So the Temple of Esna was dedicated to androgynous, nameless, omnipotent creator god, which manifested itself as both male and the female entity, deity. Here he is creating humans again on the potter's wheel. And there is Thoth writing down how many years this being would live. And as I said before, at the Temple of Esna, this being had 6 fingers. Viracocha, who I just talked about, is also portrayed as a hybrid being oftentimes, or this fish god or birdman. He has 6 toes right there from the German museum. He's also on a pot from Teotihuacan, Tiwanaku, 600 BC, with 6 fingers. So Casey simply compares this type of conception with that of the lowly amoeba, and who pushes out from within itself another separate body, splitting its own gene pool. That's how these androgynous beings are supposed to create or procreate. So we have on Boa Island in Ireland this androgynous god who is male and female, the double-headed statue. You find this all around the world. And as I spoke about before, there are these statues that are portrayed as androgynous everywhere. So Eric Ziffus explores the idea of androgynous created deities in his paper, The First Adam, Androgyny, and the Ayin Ghazal two-headed busts. So these are super ancient statues. In fact, some of the most ancient statues in the world portray polydactylism, 6 fingers and 6 toes, associated with the giant of Gath in the Bible, and androgyny. These ancestors or creator gods or this ancestor worship is basically identified in androgynous and polydactylous form, as odd as that sounds, but not so odd if the story is actually true. So Ziffer says the following: I would like to suggest that these statues represented mythical ancestors from the dawn of mankind, and that the 2-headed busts among them represent the first human being, the androgynous prototype of humanity. So we have a sober academic basically joining the story through his own personal research. And in fact, I find I read through mountains of academic papers, and I find individually there are academics who, they get a part of the story, like, wow, 6 fingers and 6 toes was revered as a divine trait, in this Pueblo community or in Malta in ancient times. And then when you piece it all together, you get this larger picture like I'm trying to portray here. So remember the Nomo double-headed twin statue of their amphibious androgynous god On the right, from Gaziantep, I think about 5000 BC, we have a statue from Turkey that represents that. MegalithomanicUK in 6500 BC.
All right, so my drawing, 44 minutes in. I was gonna draw like a blunt in the mouth, but I'm like, now that I'm like thinking about it, fuck. I don't know. I don't really like that. Kind of came out kind of gay. Not a huge fan. So I think I'm gonna try to skip that part. Just draw it normal, I guess. What the hell? Almost done though. All right. So the hard part's gonna be like the coloring. I'm like, I can't really see in color. So I'm probably just gonna finish drawing it and then do the rest later. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep going with the video.
See, these super ancient statues are basically, or are definitely portraying androgyny. This is a really interesting one because it might tell us that Göbekli Tepe, which is nearly 12,000 years old, is representing on the statues androgyny as well. So at Kilisik, near the town of Arimayan in southeast Anatolia, just over 50 miles away from Göbekli Tepe, a mini T-shaped figure was found in 1965. So this is contemporaneous with Göbekli Tepe. The statue, I think, is like 11,000 years old. So Mark Verhoeven, the academic, in 2001 wrote a paper where he claims this is an androgynous statue. And it, with the vulva, with the penis, with both body parts being portrayed as an androgynous being. So that's important because it hooks up with Göbekli Tepe. I'll show you in a second. So do the T-shapes therefore represent the great ancestor of those who offer the local hunter-gatherer communities the remedy for their proposed catastrophobia in the centuries following the aftermath of the Younger Dryas boundary impact event? Question. I'm sorry, Andrew Collins, I am quoting right here, my friend, who has written extensively about Göbekli Tepe. Genesis of the Gods is one of his books. Andrew, like Graham Hancock, is actually has this mystical prophetic side. He essentially established and predicted that more ancient sites, or the origination point of this current cycle of civilization, would be found in Turkey in his book Angels of from Ashes to Angels, or Angels to Ashes. Sorry, Andrew. But anyways, I'm giving credit to both these great researchers. Just like Hancock went on and on about this lost civilization, then Göbekli Tepe shows up, and the Younger Dryas impact shows up. So right here is the Kilisik statue. Here is Novalchori, which is a little newer than Göbekli Tepe. There is Urfa Man. So all these images here, that's Göbekli Tepe, they're around the same time frame. Super ancient sites. That's androgynous. Look at the arms and everything like that. I contend that you find androgyny not in Urfa Man, but at the two T-shaped pillars. You can see the similarities, the hands around the waist. And my point is, at the very least, there is a statue as old as the oldest temple site on Earth that is displaying androgyny. And then hook that up with Ayin Ghazal and statues around the entire planet, and you're seeing that these creator gods, these androgynous beings, are unbelievably ubiquitous. So in Qumran, after Edgar Cayce died, a couple of years later, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. So Cayce talked about the sons of Belial. He talked about the sons and daughters of the Law of One, this ancient, religion of like selfless service to mankind. And then the sons and daughters of darkness, who created all whacked out hybrid beings, and they were the black sorcerers, alluded to in like Lord of the Rings and epic stories like that. So he talked about Belial over and over again as the son of darkness, leading the dark forces in Atlantis in this ancient wizard's war, if like Harry Potter on steroids. But a large number of references to Belial are evidenced in the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered at Qumran from 1948. In the War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls says, Belial is the leader of the Sons of Darkness. So Cayce is saying these strange and specific things, once again, in a trance-like state with an 8th grade education, and he's laying out this picture. And then we find the Dead Sea Scrolls, after he's dead, verifies this. In fact, Cayce said that there were female students and initiates into the Essenes, and that wasn't believed either until the Dead Sea Scrolls prove that. He also said that the Nile flowed backwards at one point, which has been proven by science. So Casey has been prophetically true.
Send professional invoices and get paid faster with the QuickBooks mobile app. Know when they've been viewed and know when you're paid. Anytime, anywhere.
About a lot of these ideas about the past. So back to the idea of the fish gods showing up. We find these fish gods, they're androgynous, they're carrying man bags all around the planet, and I want to point to over in Mexico, this seven-headed serpent hybrid weirdo with fish scales has a man bag. You know, that's pretty specific. You know, this is beyond coincidence. That's why I do this. I just think it's fascinating to piece this together. I'm like, you tell me there's no story here, you know, that it's just this mundane, you know, story of the past, and none of this mythological garbage means anything. You know, is it like that? I doubt it. You know, and I'll say that the seven-headed figure, seven-headed dragon, seven-headed serpent is found all around the world. And in Siberia recently, this petroglyph was found. I think it's 2000 BC, this seven-headed being. So we know from Sumeria that the goddess slew the seven-headed dragon. That this is a part of what's going on. Like I'll show in a second. Like King Arthur slays the seven-headed dragon or the seven-headed serpent. There are metaphysical reasons for that. The metaphor of the seven-headed dragon and serpent I will get to in a second. So here, King Arthur, he's slaying the seven-headed dragon. And I will explain what that means in esoteric terms in a minute. Manly P. Hall has this to say. In Indian symbolism, the serpent, especially the great serpent, corroborates other evidence pointing to the presence of the mysteries on the North American continent. The flying serpent is the Atlantean token of the initiate, the seven-headed snake, representing the seven great Atlantean islands, the cities of Cibola, ? And also the seven great prehistoric schools of esoteric philosophy. In Angkor Wat and other places, you have Buddha being protected by the seven serpents. In ancient traditions of many cultures, it is the symbol of wisdom in eternity. In popular Christian lore, it is the symbol of the devil or the fallen angel. In the East, the serpent and the dragon have been the symbols of the sage or the wise man. In Buddhism, according to some traditions, Buddha was protected by nagas or serpents at birth and after his death. That's from Madame Blavatsky. So it's been the idea of the serpent, has been twisted around in Christian ways. And what it really represents is the chakra system or the energy system of the body, which when you deal with it in the correct way through meditation and other means, can lead to kundalini and enlightenment. So you see the seven-headed serpent here protecting Vishnu and protecting Buddha and on and on and on. Here's Madame Blavatsky, and she has this to say: they're all seven-headed.
And to me, to be honest, I kind of like, he's kind of saying like, oh yeah, Christians like twisted the idea of the seven-headed serpent and made it into like their own thing. But to me, that's kind of like, doesn't that mean other religion? To me, the way I see it is like, what if that means like Satan has influenced other religions and then made them think like, hey man, I'm a fucking, I'm this guy, I'm this shit, and I'm that, So I don't know. To me, like, Like, there's a lot of times where they kind of talk down on like Christianity and shit like that. But obviously, like, I don't really buy into it. Like, I'm Catholic, you know. It's like just because they obviously whatever. Like, fuck, this thing is so hard. Just because, like, let's say hypothetically, I like what they're saying about like certain topics, or like I like the ideas that they're saying, whatever the fuck, you know, hypothetically. Like, doesn't mean that I'm just gonna believe like everything. So like, just because they talk down on Christianity, you know, oh wow, you know what, Christianity is evil, you know. I'm not gonna. I don't know. So a lot of times, like, that's one thing I don't really like. Like, I'll listen to it, but I don't like it. I don't like that they always like talk down on Christianity. They always see Christianity as evil, and they always, oh yeah, pedophiles, this and that, right? But I would say, like, dude, like, God never told anybody like, hey man, like, your mission is go out there and start molesting kids, right? Like, Jesus never said, hey, your mission is go out and go molest kids, right? Like, there's gonna be people, evil people, who are gonna do evil things in the name of Christianity. And I feel like that was kind of like the wrong. I feel like the church gave the wrong response, right, when those priests were caught. Instead of like trying to cover it up and sending those priests off to different places, like, they should have said like, hey, you know what, like, these priests were caught doing things they shouldn't have been doing. So, like, any punishment from the like, honestly, they probably should have like, they should have turned those priests over to the police. To be honest, that would have been the best thing to do. Like, yes, they're priests, but dude, at that point, like, they're fucking evil. And especially the Pope we have now, some sort of like liberal fucktard. So shit like that's gonna be a lot more rampant, dude. There's gonna be a lot of like gay priests doing some pedophile shit, and then they're gonna be, you know, fucking, oh, everything's cool, you know, he didn't know. Not really liking the mouth too much.
Dragons and serpents of antiquity, one head for each race, and every head with 7 hairs on it, as the allegory has it. The earliest initiates and adepts, or the wise men, for whom it is claimed that they were initiated into the mysteries of nature by the universal mind, represented by the highest angels, were named the serpents of wisdom and dragons, the feathered serpent, Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha. They're all named the serpent. You know, at Chichen Itza with the serpents coming down. The serpent is basically, you know, the path of wisdom in esoteric circles. Even the Aztec fertility goddess, her name, Chico is actually translated as the 7 serpents. So you see the 7 serpents here. So I've showed you examples all around the world of what, you know, the 7-headed serpent or dragon. So once again, it is well beyond coincidence that this would appear everywhere. In fact, the Gnostics have the 7-headed dragon or the 7-headed serpent as part of their philosophy as well. So, you know, when people think of Jesus sometimes, they think of like the fiery Baptist minister that tells you, you know, you're going to burn in hell forever, you know, some Jeff Sessions-like character. And that gives Christianity a bad name. It gives Jesus a bad name because he'd be like the most liberal and open-minded freak walking the streets of you know, anywhere he showed up this day. You know, somebody who was unconditionally loving. Not that liberals are always unconditionally loving. The point is that he was a humanitarian. He practiced forgiveness. He was like the Buddha, just this perfect example of peace and forgiveness. So he was more oriented to an Eastern way of philosophy rather than a Western one. So this is what Yogananda, the enlightened master, if you ever get a chance, read the autobiography of a yogi if you are interested in what enlightenment means and how to reach it. Jesus went very deep in teachings that appear on the surface to be simple. much deeper than most people understand, that he taught the entire yoga system. The scientific method of union with God is evidenced in the book of Revelation and the mystery of the 7 stars and 7 churches and the 7 angels and 7 golden candlesticks. God realization is attained by opening the 7 sails of these centers of spiritual perception to attain mastery over all astral powers of life and death, through which the soul ascends to liberation. Actually, there's on Netflix this documentary about Yogananda, and you can see all about his life. He was a true spiritual master. And all these ideas are tied up within, that I'll get into it in a minute, but that there is a quantum field that we're all connected to. We are basically experiencing this game of separation in life here, where we're renting bodies, for a number of years. So here is the 7-headed dragon in the book of Revelation. And interestingly, I was on tour with Hugh Newman and J.J. Ainsworth recently, and I went to the ball court at Chichen Itza, and I was just drawn there, and I was told, to look at all the carvings on the wall. So I was drawn in there, and what I found was, see this being on the right, kneeling down, it's the decapitated ball player with 7 serpents coming out of his head. So I went on the other side, and here he is again. 7 serpents coming from his head, and he won the game and got decapitated. And there were some who believe that it wasn't about like this ritual sacrifice, that there was a very esoteric meaning, a metaphysical meaning behind this, which Hunbat's men talked about. In his book, the great Mayan wisdom keeper, Hunbat's men, he says, concludes that the Mayan religion was based around a system of 7 energy centers, very similar to the Hindu chakras. He also notes that the Buddha was bitten by a 7-headed serpent at the river of initiation. So basically, this philosophy is that there are 7 energy systems in the body, and through meditation and self-reflection, you can activate them to achieve enlightenment. And this is one of Casey's reading. Entity was in the Atlantean land when there were those activities just prior to the second upheaval. The entity was among the children of the law of one. The highest service an entity may render to the creative energy, and the answer of the divine from within comes in being mindful of the sons and daughters of men, that man may become one with the creative energy, yet no self to be self. And finally, as was given by the law of one during that sojourn, God is within, and the manifestations of his love and his mercy in and among his fellow man may be best known by the acts, deeds, yea, even very thoughts of man as in relationships to his fellow man. So basically what he's saying is, he's not talking about God, sitting in a throne in the sky. He's talking about like a quantum field that we are part of outside of time and space. This unconditional,
Obviously, I don't agree with that, right?
loving experience that we've basically traded in for our thought experiment of time and space that I will talk about in a second. So Casey is viewing the holographic nature of reality correctly and saying basically how you treat others is how you treat yourself, because it's a holographic reality. And the great mystics all taught the same thing. And I'm going to point to Richard Casaro, an occultist and researcher who's a friend of mine, who found this God Self icon all around the world. And I say that the 7-headed serpent and the God Self icon are revealing the law of one that was taught in Atlantis, that was survived through esoteric mystery schools and through cultures across the world by these Veracochas. And see right here, Veracocha, like these big...
And that's why Atlantis was destroyed, right?
...things who were androgynous and were the wisdom keepers showed up and promulgated and spread these esoteric ideas of the law of one. And you find it all around the world.
Yep. that's why it's like the story of the flood just makes so much more sense, right? They're basically saying Atlantis was destroyed by a great flood, and they're saying that the flood that destroyed Atlantis is the same flood that was from the Bible, right? Noah's Ark. So basically, like I'm saying, the story of Noah's Ark is that Noah was a descendant of Enoch, which is like one of his great grandsons or some shit like that. Enoch was one of the first men, the holiest prophets. Enoch was like he's basically one of the 3 people in Christianity that never died. So the first one would have to be the prophet, is it Prophet Elijah, I think? Prophet Elijah, Prophet Isaiah. I'm forgetting which one. I'm confusing them. Second one would be the Virgin Mary. Third one would be Enoch. Not in that order, right? But Enoch was one of the only prophets who was ever able to walk between heaven and earth. So he was the only prophet who ever saw the face of God, and he knew all the secrets of heaven, right? So Enoch has a book in the Bible, but that was taken out of the Christian continuity of the Bible because it's very apocryphal. And if you read it, it's basically like the book of Enoch is basically like it's like an answering or a fucking, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like a second part of the book of Revelation, right? Book of Revelation is basically telling about the end of the world, which is basically like a metaphysical battle happening inside of your mind and also like in the real life. So Noah was the grandson of Enoch, right? He was like a holy man. And then there's evil in the world. So the Nephilim, right? They were doing their crazy experiments, fucking with human DNA. And then they were eating everything, killing everything. There was a lot of war, a lot of paganism, right? And God didn't like that. So he told Noah, build an ark and then take your family, get 2 of each animal, right? So Noah did, and then built the ark, and then he lived. Obviously, Noah lived for like hundreds of years, right? He lived like 800 years, and his whole family lived hundreds of years. And then they they built the ark, and then the flood came, killed everything. Everyone died. Everybody on the planet that wasn't on the ark died. And then that's when that's like every religion has that story, right? That there was a giant flood, killed everything, wiped out almost all of humanity, and then one guy and his family survived. So like that's kind of the story of Noah and shit like that. So, I forgot what he was talking about right now. But yeah, so it's pretty cool.
In fact, recently they just found a God Self icon.
Oh yeah. So then basically they're saying Atlantis. The flood of Noah was the same flood that destroyed Atlantis, right? And they're basically saying that the reason that the world was destroyed because there was a lot of evil and paganism, and then the Nephilim and the Watcher Angels, right? One of them came down, or they came down and taught humanity things that they shouldn't have known about, like war, about jewelry, makeup, shit like that. And then one of the things they taught them was dark magic, so like they were doing rituals and shit like that. And then I'm pretty sure like Atlantis would have been one of those places that like they were very like knowledgeable in dark magic, shit like that, right?
The discovery of rock carvings believed to be tens of thousands of years old greatly excited archaeologists who believe they hold clues to a previously unknown civilization. This recently was found in this lost civilization in India. So it's the oldest representation of the God Self icon. So we find that when you study quantum mechanics, you understand what is being said is that the world is basically one big hologram. The universe is a giant brain. It's not in reverse. Consciousness didn't just appear. The bottom line is that, it emerged, as a thought, basically, by us. Which
cover your place in rugs. Done.
seems crazy because we play this game, I'm worthless, I'm small, I'm just going to kick through my life, they're going to throw me in the freaking grave, you know what I mean, instead of what we are in reality. So, as far as I'm concerned, guys like Jung had it right about the collective unconscious, and to self-reflect and not to look to the world to be a victim of what's going on. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, I'm not a big fan of social media. I'm not a fan of really mindless interaction with people and just talking about freaking nothing, the weather. It's just like I'd rather hang myself, like looking for a lame hit on Facebook or wherever on social media. I don't want to diss anyone, and I've been like I've said and done embarrassing things, I'm sure, and I know, and I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just pointing out that I think it's healthy to ask these questions and reflect on what the hell we are doing in time and space. what is the nature of this place? Like, where is 10 minutes ago? You know, time seems to be a completely synthetic construct. In fact, quantum mechanics tells us it's entirely synthetic. That essentially this is like some virtual reality experience we're having. So if that's the case, like, how do you wake up and get back to reality? The Gnostics would try to seek gnosis or wisdom by reaching through the veil. And Richard Casaro gave me this as well. I'll read this from Plato. You know, all of these masters are caught up in the same story, saying the same things, whether it's about human origins or spirituality. We should think of the most authoritative part of our soul as a guardian spirit given by God, living in the summit of the body, which can properly be said to lift us from the earth toward our home in heaven. For we are creatures not of earth, but of heaven, where the soul was first born. So Plato, correctly, I believe, is saying that, you know, our real state isn't in a body. It isn't playing the stupid game of separation. And in fact, it is not identifying with all our stupid personality traits that keep us separate. It's not like you will exist for eternity with all these weird thoughts about yourself and bodily characteristics. That's utterly insane. You know, it is like I said, to become enlightened, you undo all that you think you are, because it is just a game of separation in a body. You know, all these things, oh, I'm really tough and cool, or I'm this, or I'm a Patriots fan, or whatever the hell you think about yourself. There are all these false constructs that you have to undo to re-experience your perfection, not in a body, as an enlightened being. So that sounds weird and esoteric. I understand that, but that is what all the masters are teaching. So if you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering of the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have is to give. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that your own self-transformation. Now, Lao Tzu, like Plato and Yogananda, was another enlightened master. They were all teachers of pure non-dualism. And Rumi and Hafiz, if you've ever read them, were enlightened beings as well. If light is in your heart, you will find your way home. You know, it sounds simplistic, but go read some Rumi if you're bummed out these days. And then, if then you do not make yourself equal to God, you cannot apprehend God. For like is known by like. Leap clear of all that is corporeal and become eternal. Then you will apprehend God. That's the Hermeticum, this esoteric teaching. It's a heretical idea to the human ego that we are one with God. But that is what all the masters tell us. Once again, not as a stupid body, but as a kind of an interaction of abstract truth outside of time and space. And I will, you know, I could get long-winded, probably already have, about this subject, but I just feel like, you know, I will speak personally. I've studied pure non-dualism, a thought system called The Course in Miracles, for about 25 years, and my buddy Gary Renard has written a series of books that explains what every question about time and space, why you're here, is answered within this book. It is described in intricate, holographic, uncompromising detail. And the reality that I believe is like the prodigal sons and daughters, that the world of time and space is kind of this virtual reality experiment where it's like, hey, what would it be like to like be separate bodies or to create like God? And you could say, I'm going to make life a grand adventure and this is cool. Or you could say, this place kind of blows, you know, like my parents died, you know, I tore my hamstring and you know, my cat's sick or whatever. Like, life can really suck. And it's like, is it a worthwhile experience? Not that you don't want to be loving and make a better world, but is this a place you want to hang on to? You really got to ask yourself that, you know? Or you want to unravel your false self and get back home. That's what I want to do. I'm like, you know, I do the best I can. I try to be kind and respectful and helpful. But the bottom line is, you know, this place blows a lot too. You know, there's a lot of struggle and turmoil. It's just the way it is. So my boy Gary Renard lays it out, and he is just reflecting on the teachings of non-dualism all throughout the ages, all the greatest masters, and their lives revealed this. It wasn't like they were talking shit and then living a different life. They were basically tuned in, like Muji, if you YouTube his videos or watch Yogananda. They were these unbelievably compassionate, peaceful, incredible beings. And, you know, it's basically something to try to emulate, I believe. Because if not, you know, time comes and goes. There's 10 years like that. Oh, Jim, he's a great guy. He's dead. You know what I mean? It's like you want to wake up to what we really are. And if this rings true, read this book. Like I said, my brother and I have been at this for like 25 years. We get together early in the morning and talk basically in these non-dualistic terms about the nature of reality for about an hour before we go off and do stonework and stuff. And, you know, I just like to share my experience because there's a lot of people without a lot of hope and they feel like, oh, you know, this life sucks and I want something better. And I would say, pick that book up. Gary's going to have to give me some proceeds if anybody buys it. So I appreciate you listening to this. I understand these are some strange and mind-bending ideas, but a lot of them are, you know, they're backed up by quantum mechanics and great spiritual teachers, and I'm claiming no fake authority myself as a, you know, somebody who's in the fight with everyone else. I'm just trying to share information that I find interesting. So thank you for your time and be well.
So I forgot to shout them out or give them credit, but that was basically from the Megamelech. How the fuck do you say it? MegalithomanicUK YouTube channel, right? So shout out Jim Vera. That was a sick ass video, hour-long lecture that he gave. And I'm probably gonna end the video there. I'm fucking getting tired of drawing. Shit's pretty hard. So I'm not done yet. This is as far as I've gotten. Wait, hold on. This is basically all I have so far. Ooh. You can't really see it, right? Can't see it too well. But that's all I have so far. I'm gonna end the video there. Peace out. You're a fucking bitch. Shut up.